All righty, Vince. Are you ready for rapid fire?
Woo! Let's go. I've been ready. I mean, it's Friday Fire, so I've been ready for rapid fire the entire time.
I know,
But
there's a chance we're hoping Jesse might jump in here at some point.
come on,
I don't know if
Stiers
it's going to happen
Junior.
though. I don't know. He had a little, like we said at the top, little project he was working on at work. Wanted to start though. Have you seen the images of the New York Giants throwback uniforms they're going to
Yes,
wear?
I have.
What do you think of the helmets?
I'm trying to remember what the helmets look like. I was
They're basically
blinded by
Michigan's
the jerseys.
helmets.
Oh, with the red and blue. Yeah.
With
I
the
did
wings
notice that.
up there.
I hate the wings. I mean, it's because I hate It's because I hate Michigan, but I hate the wings. And you can't come up with another design. I don't understand why the wings are a throwback look. That doesn't make sense to me.
They were on their helmets like in 1938 or whatever it was. That's why it's a throwback look, I guess.
I thought they were wearing leather helmets back then. No,
well, they were, but they painted the leather helmets. They actually,
seriously?
Yeah. There's a photo that I saw yesterday of it.
Still stupid. Don't
Let
like
me
it.
see.
Hate it.
Let me see if I can find it.
I don't like it. I don't. It's not original. I don't like it. I'll never like it. The winged helmet is a terrible look. Blech.
They had, see, these are, it's like a different design that they had, but there is.
So they would paint the leather helmets?
Yeah.
This is all new information for me. I didn't know that was a thing.
Again, this is a different one, but I'm just going to throw this up here so you can, this is actually the 38 helmet, but this is a different one. It's not the one that they're going to wear, but just to show you that they painted the leather.
Huh.
So that's
yeah, they did.
Painted leather Giants helmet.
Then it should look like that, not the stupid wings.
But we were talking about it yesterday, and we attributed the look to Michigan, and someone on the YouTube, made the comment, Princeton had him first, and then the Princeton coach went to Michigan and took it with him and whatever. It's like, okay, great. I knew that Princeton had
Michigan
him
made him popular.
Then, but Michigan, it made them popular and still, have kept them in the public view for however many years Michigan has been wearing. Nobody talks about Princeton football helmets right now, right?
I was going to say
the look. That is the look of a Michigan helmet.
Did Princeton abandon the winged helmet?
Oh, there he is. It's Michael. He said Princeton wore the original helmet in 1935. Michigan started in 1938. Again,
that's fine. That's great.
Is Princeton still wear on national TV every week?
I'm just curious. Does Princeton still wear? Well, I did. They do still wear the winged helmet.
Yes. I missed the 1938
that.
Princeton football season, so I didn't.
Yeah, whatever.
I know. All right. So, which over do you like better for Riley Leonard next season? 35.5 total touchdowns or 3,900 total yards?
I like the touchdowns. I think he'll be responsible for a bunch of touchdowns, throwing and receiving. Also, I'll go with touchdowns on this one.
I originally had the touchdown number a little bit higher, and then I looked at it and I was like, I think that's probably a little bit high. But I do think he's going to be right in the ballpark of 3,900 yards, maybe a little bit under, like 3,700. I don't think is a stretch at all, because that's about what he had 2 years ago in his full healthy season at Duke, and he had 34 total touchdowns that year as well, 20 through the air and 13 on the ground. I doubt that he'll probably have as many rushing touchdowns this year because of the stable of running backs that he has. Look, we were shooting that number high for Sam Hartman last year with the touchdown passes, and it didn't quite get there. But I'm with you though. I'm going to go over on that 35.5 total touchdowns for Leonard. I think that's the one that he's got the better shot to get this year. Because again, again with the rushing yards, he'll run, but is he going to have to run as much with the running backs that he's got?
Yeah, good point. Good point. I think he's going to surprise some people with his arm, and I think there's going to be some long touchdowns that he doesn't necessarily have to use his arm a whole lot for. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be some plays made by wide receivers that are going to rack up some touchdowns for him. So, I could see both, but I don't want to go crazy. So I'll say touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. So the U.S. Women's Olympic water. I saw this on our boards this week, by the way, the Champions Lounge. This was an interesting one where I first saw it, and then I've tried to read some articles on it. There are actually some very poorly written articles, but in any case,
Yikes.
The U.S. Women's Olympic water polo team has brought on Flava Flav to be their official hype man.
That's crazy.
For the Paris Olympics. He's not just a hype man. He's actually helping them raise money for the Olympic water polo program as well. My question, and again, this comes from the board. This was the question that was posed. If Notre Dame could have a hype man, who would it be?
Oh, if Notre Dame could have a hype man. I thought it was if I could have a hype man.
Well, there's also
I'm sorry. I didn't read the full. Okay, got it.
Come on, Vince. Detail.
Sorry. English is tough. Reading's hard. If Notre Dame could have a hype man, it would be Vince Vaughn. I think Vince Vaughn would do amazing as Notre Dame's hype man. He's up there at the top, like they brought him in for game day, remember, last year? And I think that was the easy pick when we were trying to decide who was going to be the guest picker for game day. He did have some good jokes. He made some Wedding Crashers references and stuff like that. Didn't see it.
I think he's up there.
Okay.
Like, how visible is Vince Vaughn, though, right now? Like,
anymore? Yeah.
What is he?
That's going. Yeah.
That's going like he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm the last couple of seasons, but he didn't do like Vince Vaughn stuff. He just, kind of played, kind of a boring guy, to be quite honest. But
that's a shame.
Like, I'm actually kind of waiting. We need we're going to talk about a movie or two in a little bit. We need like the next Vince Vaughn movie. And like what Joe is saying, Bon Jovi kind of seems like a little bit higher profile right now, just like the stuff last week. Who else is releasing an album with the ND logo and all that kind of stuff on it? Feels like Bon Jovi. I think they're like 1A and 1B though. I do like the Vince Vaughn. And like you look at some other programs, like even Notre Dame, like I feel like Regis Philbin used to be it.
Oh yeah.
Back when he was in his heyday, when he was doing Regis and Kathy Lee and Regis and Kelly and all that kind of stuff, because he went to Notre Dame. He would talk about Notre Dame all the time on the show on national TV. And I was thinking about like some others, like Texas obviously has Matthew McConaughey, so that's still a pretty big one. Do you remember back in the 90s when Kentucky basketball had Ashley Judd?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
As a budding teenage Vince, I'm sure you appreciated that quite a bit, didn't you?
Huge crush. Huge crush. I'll be the first one to admit it. No problem with that, because that was pre-wife. Huge crush on Ashley Judd. Holy smokies.
Yeah.
Man.
USMA 87 makes a good point. Dick Vitale has kind of been a Notre Dame hype man for a while himself.
He has. He kind of falls in the same category as Regis, though, as far as like their age and whatnot. So yes, over the last few decades, absolutely. He's got how many relatives that have gone through Notre Dame, and his daughter married at Notre Dame. Got tons of Notre Dame connections. He's definitely been the hype man in the past. I don't know if that's the case moving forward.
This is an interesting comment from Sloppy Joe. I realize Sloppy, is a Gore fan and like lives in Wichita and all that kind of stuff. But he says, I think Sean is the first person to ever clamor for a new Vince Vaughn film.
Then you mark me down as number 2 because I would love it. His stuff is gold, Jerry. Gold.
That's like Wedding Crashers, Old School, and I think you could even throw Dodgeball in there.
Yeah.
Like 3, in my mind, 3 of the top 10 comedies of the last 25 years, easily.
Yes, agreed.
And based on the money that they made, when R-rated comedies were still coming out, I think a lot of people actually agree with that. So,
yep.
Not to mention,
those are iconic, man.
Yeah.
Those are iconic. And there's some other good, there's some off the beaten path, like The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Was a good one.
First half is pretty good. It gets,
it gets a little rough. I agree.
Subject matter, it gets a little tough. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm trying to think what else was there? There's been plenty of good ones. All right. So
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go all the way back to Swingers in the 90s.
Swingers, yeah. Joe says he wants a Vince Vaughn and a Will Ferrell duo. Well, that would have to be the Notre Dame USC game. You get those two together, that could be fun.
That's
because, there you go.
Yes. So, okay, so we've got the Notre Dame hype man. Did you pick one for yourself? You said that.
So, yeah, this is again going way off the beaten path, and people may not even know this particular reference, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
Okay.
2001, there was a movie called A Knight's Tale starring Heath Ledger.
Okay.
It's like a jousting knight. I don't know if you ever saw it. You ever see
it? I did not. Okay, I've heard of it, but I didn't see it.
This is going to go over your head then, but he had a hype man in that movie played by Paul Bettany. It was his character's name was Jeffrey Chaucer, which is obviously a real person.
Okay.
But
so like he literally had a hype man.
Yes, he would introduce Heath Ledger before he would joust, and he would go on this tirade about how, he was the savior of this and the this and the that and the da 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 da, and it was awesome. You have to turn it's a little bit of a corny movie,
like a modern or like an old medieval times ring announcer, basically.
Yes,
like what a ring announcer would do now.
Yes, it's perfect. I'll send you like a YouTube clip, and so you'll understand where I'm coming from. I'm sure we get shut down if I show it on here, and maybe people will appreciate that in the chat. Maybe they won't, but that's who I would have as my hype man.
I like that. I didn't think about that. That's a good way to go. Yeah, I actually for this being my question, I had a hard time coming up with anything. So I went with like John Mulaney or Jason Sudeikis, a couple of funny guys.
Yeah, that's good.
Like Mulaney, I feel like he's from Chicago. He would kind of have that, like when he sort of the same thing that you're talking about. Like when he introduces you, he would interject the appropriate, maybe even some inappropriate amount of humor to go along with it. Yeah, it would come out pretty good. So, and Sudeikis, just because you see him everywhere these days, and he's actually a University of Kansas alum as well.
Okay, I did not know that.
So going back there, yes,
I did.
So
I did not. And is that why he was the Wichita State football coach or whatever?
I think that's kind of because he did create that character. I think that's right. Kind of where that might have derived from. Yes, yes, indeed. All right. So Dabo Sweeney made the media rounds this week. His Clemson Tigers were the only non-service academy to not take a player out of the transfer portal this year. Only non-service academy program in the nation. So here are a couple of different things that he said on some different outlets this week. He told Sirius XM Radio, it's really pretty simple. Most of the guys in the portal aren't good enough to play for us. That's just the reality of it.
Really?
He also told the ACC network, every player is technically a transfer. We just signed a whole class of guys transferring from high school. So are you buying or selling this stuff from Dabo, Vince?
I'm not buying the comment about nobody out there is good enough to play for us. That's bananas. Like there were plenty of good guys in the portal that could have helped Clemson. That's nonsense. Okay. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in college football, to stay sustainable, you've got to use the transfer portal to your advantage, and he's going to get left behind if he doesn't do that. So I'm not buying it. I'm selling it. I think he's ridiculous. Now, we just signed a whole class of people that transfer from their high school. They didn't transfer from their high school. They graduated high school, and now they're in college. That's not transferring. Stop it. That's ridiculous. That's dumb. Now, I will say, I do, we're making the rounds in the recruiting. We went to a school where they're like, we don't use because, with kickers and what, You always ask about the transfer portal. What is your philosophy in the transfer portal? That's a question that you ask, right? And we went to this one school that is a very successful program, and they're like, we don't use the transfer portal. We like to develop high school kids and bring them in, keep them here, and develop them.
Right.
I dug that. Like, as a coach, I dig that.
Better answer.
Problem is,
and that's what USMA is saying here.
Yeah, right. The problem is the reality of that is not. It's just not sustainable in high D1 football.
Notre Dame is, and you can look at across the board in different, whatever sport it happens to be. The three main ones specifically, football, men's and women's basketball. The majority of their rosters are high school recruits, and they always will be. But they are strategically filling specific needs using the transfer portal. And that's the difference. Like Dabo, no one's saying you have to go out and be Lincoln Riley at USC or Deion Sanders at Colorado and, purge your roster or fill your roster with 15 to 40 guys from the transfer portal. To me, like hearing Dabo Swinney saying this, it's like listening to people who ran traditional media 20 plus years ago. Like why are newspapers dying? Why are TV stations, local TV stations having a hard time? Why is local radio having a hard time? Because those traditional medias were so late to embrace the internet and the technology, those kind of platforms that came with the internet. They were so late to embrace it. They pushed it back. They didn't know what to do with it. And it's the same with Dabo right here.
He's got his head in the sand, doesn't he? Yes. That's what it feels like.
Yes. Brad Pitt, Moneyball, adapt or die. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. Adapt or die. And I just think that you can keep this philosophy for Dabo if you want, but I just, look at where he is. He's fallen back the last few years, just as this transfer portal has become such a big part of college football. Now, had a nice finish to the season last year after a rough start, but I just think in the long run, it's going to be very hard for him to stay competitive at an elite level if this is going to be his approach. But he'll always taking anyone.
He'll always be able to be the top half of the ACC if that's if that's the bar you're trying to clear, then great, that's where you're going to be. But I don't think he's going to be able to compete on a regular basis for a national championship unless he adapts to what the transfer portal is.
Yeah,
because guys are going to be leaving his program. How are you going to?
Bo Collins just left his program, right? You're still going to lose guys whether you're taking them in or not.
So if you lose guys, you got to fill. You can't just take 35 guys from high school every time, because then you're just going to have a roster full of freshmen and sophomores, and then as soon as they get good, they're going to leave. So, that's not going to work either. So he's going to have to adapt at some point if they want to stay relevant.
No, I mean, and this is a good point from Andrew. Dabo can keep the philosophy if he keeps recruiting quarterbacks like Watson and Lawrence, but Uiagalelei and Klubnik haven't lived up to that. And that's a great point, because
really good
that's
point.
Why they were able to, they obviously had other, like that defensive line that they had was one of the all-time defensive lines ever, but
it was amazing.
Yeah. But who was there? Venables was still there, and he's
gone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But that's what, that's why, even though the entirety of the recruiting classes weren't always at the high end of the national rankings, but they hit with those two guys. They hit with a couple of as you would say, generational quarterbacks, and that's a big difference. They're both playing in the NFL right now, and that's why. Look at, like when you spin it to Notre Dame, the way that Marcus Freeman is using the transfer portal and also continuing to up recruiting specifically at the quarterback position these last few years. That's why I think that there is this so much warranted, sort of promise for what's coming here in the near future. So the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight is going to have a $2 million VIP package called the MVP Owners Experience. It comes with, quote, unparalleled seats, access, and amenities during the fight and on fight night, end quote, including 2 ringside apron seats, 4 first row floor seats, 4 second row floor seats for the fight, an exclusive stadium arrival experience, security, and escort.
What does
during
that
the
mean?
night.
You're gonna do some smoke as you walk in?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
what's
right.
an exclusive stadium arrival?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Right. That's
a
hilarious.
pillar of the community. Yes. A pre-fight locker room photo with both Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, gloves signed by both fighters for all 10 guests in this package, private green room with top shelf open bar and an all-inclusive food menu, post-fight in-ring photo opportunity for the group, VIP lounge access and front row tickets to all of the fight week events and activities, including the opportunity to be on stage with the fighters during the final Friday weigh-in on July 19th, and 2-night luxury hotel and transportation accommodations for 10 guests. I mean, you get a lot in there, but does that sound like a $2 million ticket to you, Vince?
Not even close.
Let's assume you're Marcus Freeman and you're making almost $7 million a year. Would that be something worth $2 million?
No, because that's a third of my salary for 2 nights. Right? Like, let's say I made $100,000. I'm not paying $33,000 for 2 nights of doing something like that. That's no, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. It's way too overpriced. If you added up all of those different things in my brain, I would say maybe you're at about $500,000.
I was going to say, like, to me, it doesn't even seem like a $50,000 package, to be quite honest. You know, like I suppose with the luxury accommodations and some of that.
And it's 10 people. I mean, it's 10 people, so that's a lot.
But just for the, like, you're right. Like, just for the cool stuff, like meet the fighters and, whatever else, like it just $2 million. I just, even if I was making, like 10 million a year, it's just not there for me. I think that they would like Mike Tyson. Okay. That's pretty cool. Jake Paul does nothing for me. I don't know who it would have to be for me. Again, like neither one of us is ever going to have $2 million to throw around for any kind of package.
No,
but I don't know.
But I would never do that.
I don't know who it would have to be even, for me to say that would be worth it.
God, that's ridiculous. Like I said, even as a percentage, if you're Marcus Freeman, you're not spending a third of your salary on 2 nights. That's so stupid. That I guess I've spent too much time as a teacher with 5 kids to like even be able to wrap my mind around spending that kind of percentage of money. Even, $2 million, okay, but percentage of money on like 2 nights. It's unfathomable for me. There's no chance that I would do that.
Herrick says we all know Jake Paul loses an ear, buy or sell.
Wow. I don't know. Does Tyson have dentures? Like, would he even work? Would the teeth fall out? I'm not even sure. Good question.
I don't think he's going to be doing any biting this time.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think he's going to have to. I think one good punch to Jake Paul's, glass jaw in this game is over.
I think so too.
But we'll see.
Yep. There can be only one is saying Tyson's too old. These fights are for morons to bet on anyway. Yeah. Jesse will be betting on it.
I'll guarantee it. And as long as he bets on Tyson, he's going to win. There's zero chance that Jake Paul wins this bout.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
The only question will be if you're going to bet on the round. That would be the only way I think to lose if you bet on Tyson. If you're trying to pick a specific round or, like over under the 3rd round or whatever, so. Fill in the blank. It's blank that NFL Vice President of Broadcast Planning Mike North says the NFL took Taylor Swift's concert schedule into account when they created the 2024 NFL schedule. She could attend up to 14 of Travis Kelce in the Kansas City Chiefs games this season.
It's more evidence that this entire relationship is a sham and is put together by the NFL and Travis Kelce's people. That's what it is. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous that was even part of the conversation when they're putting together the schedule.
I just, I guess as long as it doesn't mess with any competitive balance, it doesn't matter. And I know they spent a long time looking at this, but I did see, like, for example, when the Chiefs play at Buffalo this season, she's going to be in Toronto, which is just like an hour or so away, so she'll be able to
how handy.
zip down. And the NFL has definitely gone all in on the Taylor Swift thing, but they've got the numbers, and I'm sure like they want to keep skewing younger. They want the younger audience, and the Swifties are tuning in. Remember, the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, all-time Super Bowl viewership.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
This past year. I do doubt that they asked any of the other players' wives what their schedules are, though. Right?
Bingo. How do you think Sierra feels right now? Because she can't go to all the Russell Wilson's games because of her schedule.
Yes.
Like, they could have saved Giselle and Brady's, whole marriage if they would have, scheduled all his games around her modeling career. Why now? Why now?
Yep. Andrew says, smart, whether you like her or not. She's the most famous person in the world, and women watch the Chiefs now. Yep. I mean,
it's bull dookie.
And actually, like they put the Chiefs, when you look at their schedule with the primetime games and all that kind of stuff, they got a lot more of the primetime slots than even the team that begins with C, I believe, got this year. So, but I think that this plays into that as well. The fact that they worked this schedule to make sure that she'll be there sitting in those luxury suites doing her thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that played into it.
It's going to make me want to watch less Chiefs games. I'm not going to lie. Just to buck the system.
Vince, did you see what Paul Skenes did to the Cubs today?
No. I saw what happened when he pitched against them the first time.
Well, he struck out 11
Jeez.
in 6 no-hit innings today. Struck out the first 7 batters of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the final score?
It was like 9-3 when I was coming in here. Let me see. Hit refresh here.
The freaking Pirates,
yeah,
people.
9-3.
Come on.
9-3 was the final.
It's not even the fact that they got struck out and they did all these different things. You gave up 9 runs to the Pirates. Come on.
Well, you know who was pitching? You talk about a disparity or like a
was it Hendricks?
Night and day difference. Yes, it was the old man, Kyle Hendricks. You had the wiffle ball pitcher on one side and you had fireball Skenes on the other side.
It's time to put Hendricks out to pasture. Stop running him out there, embarrassing himself. I love Hendricks. He's one of my favorite, Cubs from the 2016 team. There's no doubt about it. But it's time. It's time.
This goes back, we were talking about the Taylors, and we're going to continue here in a second. But, Herrick says this is exactly why Notre Dame needs Swift as their hype guy. I mean, do you think if Bon Jovi was sitting in a suite at Notre Dame, like hanging over, like cheering and all that kind of stuff, is that going to get it done the way Taylor Swift gets it done for the Chiefs?
No, not a chance.
Yeah. Maybe if Lady Gaga all of a sudden starts dating Riley Leonard or something. I don't know.
The problem is there's no comparable person to Taylor Swift with everything that she's got going on right now.
Well,
there's nobody.
Like Olivia Rodrigo. Like if Olivia Rodrigo started dating a Notre Dame player, like she's not Taylor Swift, but at the same time, like she might be kind of even though they're sort of right, but like she might be in that ballpark in terms of she's at least college age, because I think she's like 20 or 21 or something like that, and she's a pretty big, again, not on the Swift level, but a pretty big pop star herself. But Olivia Rodrigo, she came out like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's the closest one I can think of right now, because it would have to be somebody like that to truly, like we're talking about generating that kind of attention. It's just nuts what that thing turned into last year. So speaking of which, the Skenes segue, he made his debut last week, and his first 2 starts have been against the Cubs.
I'm aware.
By the way. And by the way, you would think that the advantage would go to the hitters the second time and not the pitcher, but tell that to Paul
He was a little wild in the first game. I think maybe some nerves or
major
whatever.
league debut.
Yeah, which is
home.
fine. So I bet he was much more dialed in this time around. I would imagine. I obviously didn't watch any of the games since you saw the look on my face when I heard of those awesome stats that he put up.
Yeah. So since he made that debut last week, there's been talk about whether his girlfriend, former LSU gymnast Livy Dunn, could, and social media influencer as well, could be baseball's version of Taylor Swift. Do you buy or sell that Livy Dunn could do for baseball what Swift did for the NFL last year?
I buy it to a degree. I mean, look, everything's in degrees, right? No one is going to bring the influence that Taylor Swift brought. That doesn't exist, okay? But you also have to understand that who Livy Dunn is and how many followers she has and all of those different things, and that it's legit. I mean, it's legit. So, I think Jesse talked about it last week that there was a little bit conspiracy theory out there that they wanted to make sure that Livy Dunn was graduated and out of school the first game she was able to come to. That's when he makes his debut. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility, right? And so I absolutely think baseball will try to play this up as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think they'll try to. A couple things
equal.
Yeah, you're right. Like, to a degree, I think they can at least get a bump at it. The biggest bump, I think, is going to be social media. They will not be able to get the same kind of bump that Taylor Swift brought to football. One, just because of the way TV is different. Baseball is every day, and it's on regional television contracts, and he's a starting pitcher, so he's only out there once a week. So like, how much is Livy Dunn even going to be around, in terms of like at the games and stuff like that? Whereas football is once a week and it's on national TV. And oh, by the way, it's also one of the most famous people in the world. But because of the social media impact, I do think that she could, baseball wants a younger crowd. Everybody wants a younger crowd right now. I do think that she can help that. It doesn't help that Skenes pitches in Pittsburgh either. If it was New York or one of the, LA or Chicago, they would get an even bigger bump. But I think she can at least do something. I don't think it's completely out of the realm, but it won't come anywhere close to what Taylor Swift did. But I do think she can at least bring a little bit more light to baseball by being attached there to Skenes.
Look, the bottom line is they're going to have to be better. I mean, Pittsburgh's going to have to be better. They're going to have to be in contention so they can get some of those like Sunday night games and that kind of a deal. I think that's going to be very, very important. The other problem is he's a pitcher. So he only plays every 5 games. So that's going to be a bit of an issue too. So you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, but at the same time, they're still going to attempt to do this. I mean, they're still going to attempt to get a bump out of it.
Yeah, I would have to disagree with this, Andrew. He says baseball doesn't need it. Ratings, if the NFL needs it, baseball needs it.
Yeah, that was my response. I said the NFL didn't need it either.
Yeah,
but they still got it.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. And attendance and ratings might be up, but it's still relative, right? Because TV ratings have always been very solid for baseball in the local markets on their like day-to-day regional TV broadcasts. It's the national broadcasts that don't get any ratings. And that's why you only get one ESPN game per week now, because the national broadcasts don't do anything because you've got these streaming packages and, or you can watch the entire package on your TV and whatever else. So they definitely need it. It might be up, but baseball needs it more than anyone, because I think going forward, they're in a place where, again, because of where the national ratings are gone, even the postseason, like where are you seeing postseason games? FS1, FS2, those kind of places.
Yep.
It's starting to slide backwards a little bit. So they definitely need it. But again, I just don't think that they're going to get that big kind of bump that the Swifties are giving the NFL.
Agreed.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Netflix is officially working with Adam Sandler on their sequel, Happy Gilmore 2, the follow-up, of course, to the 1996 comedy about the hockey player turned golfer.
Amazing. That's what it is. It's amazing. Okay. I'm excited about it. I love Happy Gilmore. Great movie. Great cameos in there. I hope they all come back. Obviously, Chubbs can't come back. But the people that didn't die, Grandma can't come back. But I am so excited about this. Shooter McGavin, I want them all back. I'm very excited about it. And I hope Ben Stiller somehow makes his way in as the nurse of somehow Ben Stiller.
They've got to bring him back, even in some small kind of role.
Fantastic.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring it back. I'm so excited.
In fact, like they need some kind of antagonist. Like Shooter McGavin, I did see where he might be back, but they haven't announced anything other than the fact that they're doing this. Yes. So I'm very excited about it as well. Julie Bowen, like, can they bring Julie Bowen back? The woman who was like the PR, the tour PR person. She became a big star, obviously, on Modern Family when that was on a few years back.
Oh, that's right. That was her, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I don't know why I didn't put two and two together.
Happy Gilmore was one of the first things that she ever did.
There you go.
Like, are Happy and Julie, whatever her character's name was, are they happy?
Are they happy?
Yeah. Did they?
Oh, fantastic.
Did they have kids?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Or maybe do a crossover and, like this time Happy goes up against Kevin Costner's character in Tin Cup or something like that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. That would be good.
I'm getting heckled here. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of this old school stuff being brought back now. And it, like Top Gun Maverick, I think kind of triggered some of this. You've got Happy Gilmore 2. You've got the Beetlejuice. I saw somebody post about that.
I did see that.
That's supposed to be coming out. I'm curious to see what. Andrew, good point. Bob Barker can't come back. Maybe you get Drew Carey though.
Drew Carey, yeah. Who's gonna believe Drew Carey can beat up Happy Gilmore? Not this guy.
Well, at this point, they're about the same age, right? So
I know,
Bob Barker was an older guy.
But he was.
There are no older game show hosts these days, really, are there?
No,
they're all fairly young.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point because tragically we don't have Bob Barker or Alex Trebek, Pat Sajak.
There you go.
Beat him up.
He's still around. That's right.
Or Vanna White. Bring them both in there. They can tag team them.
I like that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. Appreciate you being here. We ran through a lot of different stuff today. We never got Jesse, so we're going to have to push. We were going to talk a little Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick because Jesse got.
I still want to know how that went down.
He enjoyed them. He enjoyed them both. Okay. I wasn't really sure. He did like both of them.
Okay.
But we all need to be here so we can talk about this together because, we've been fans. And he said after he watched Top Gun, one, he liked it, but two, he didn't think that he had ever seen the full thing before,
no kidding.
Which is amazing.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep. Joe, you have a great weekend as well. Everybody stay safe out there. And John, we're gonna have to get him watching Roadhouse now. That came up last night. Are you a Roadhouse fan?
I've seen it. I mean,
it's
not bad. I mean, Patrick Swayze just beating the crap out of everybody. I mean, that's basically the whole movie. So I don't think I gave anything away there.
Somebody was in here last night with a handle in the chat, Wade Garrett, the old man, Sam Elliott character, Wade Garrett.
Sam Elliott, one of the more underrated actors out there. He is so good.
He is.
Big fan.
He's looked the same age for the last 35 years.
Since he was like 30 years old. He looked like an old man.
That's right.
I mean, he was in like Gettysburg. Like, how long ago was that?
Man, no kidding.
And he was gray with the mustache and the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like,
that was like mid 80s, wasn't it?
Yes. That was 40 years ago ish. Like, yeah. So anyway.
All right, hit the like button before you leave. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday on IB Nation Sports Talk.